There is a lot of news happening in the world of professional wrestling in both AEW and WWE right now. I'm going to go over things with Karrion Kross, things with Wardlow, and other news for both AEW and WWE right here on Screw the Script. Welcome back, everybody, to Screw the Script. I'm your host, Maverick, as always. And let's just get right into it, because there's a lot that I want to cover here on this quicker episode of Screw the Script. First things first, on the AEW side, we'll go over those things, because most of this will actually be WWE news. There's a lot more to talk about. Starting with Wardlow. I've been saying on my channel for weeks now that I would like to see him come back. And not only that, but be intertwined with this Hurt Syndicate and MJF storyline, and it looks to be that way because on his social media, I believe yesterday actually, I took screenshots here, and you can see on these photos here, there's two of them. I'll show the first one, and then the second one, you'll see them go through. We saw not only him sharing a photo of his action figure, that I actually have this one, by the way, of his All Out action figure, which is right around the corner in September. He also shared him listening to a Chris Van Vliet podcast about the Hurt Syndicate. Now, could this just all be a big coincidence? Maybe. Likely, it is foretelling what's going to happen in the future here. It's in AEW. This is Wardlow foreshadowing his return, likely at All Out. Like I had predicted, I believe, either on my last video or the video before that, I expressed how I think they should handle his return. Now, it's kind of open in the air. Is he listening to this because he wants to join said Hurt Syndicate with MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby Lashley with Wardlow? Would be unstoppable, probably. They could go after whatever they want. Or is he going to tie up the beef with MJF, the guy that he used to back up and basically be, the bodyguard of said mouthpiece that is MJF? The two both have grown with AEW. MJF has evolved quite a bit over the years. Wardlow has as well. He was dealing with the injury bug for a while, and then he was gone after said injury, filming not one, but two seasons of American Gladiator. But he's all done and wrapped up with that. So are we going to see Wardlow return at All Out? I think it's highly likely. I will feel very vindicated if it does happen. So I am looking forward to Wardlow returning at All Out. He is a huge missing piece for AEW's roster in terms of pure size and muscle. They don't have a whole lot of guys that are of that stature. So having him back is going to be huge. Going on to the next thing that's actually kind of both AEW and WWE news, which will be a good segue into the WWE stuff after I talk about this real quick. We are seeing reports that WWE is seriously mulling over the idea of running Mania 42 simultaneously in Vegas and Saudi Arabia, which is crazy considering they are already doing a night one and a night two for WrestleMania like they've been doing these last few years. And not only that, but there is also an additional report aside from that stating that later in September, this fall, they are reporting that they want to put yet another show head-to-head with one of AEW's biggest shows of the year, being All Out. Now, it's interesting and funny to me considering that they have claimed time and time again that they don't see AEW as competition anymore. They certainly did early on when they had NXT moved to TV on the same nights of Wednesday nights, and they, were obliterated almost every single week by AEW early on when, back when TV ratings and views mattered a little bit more. They never really have in this day and age, but they at least mattered a little bit more back then. Now there's so many streaming services that have come out these last 6 years that it doesn't really hold as much weight as it used to. But yeah, they beat them so bad they moved to Tuesday nights, and they've been there since. And then for a while, they were true in their words, stating that they didn't see him as competition. They weren't having shows held on the same weekends or anything like that. But like I've said all year on my channel, 2025 has been a phenomenal year for AEW. It very much is mimicking as close to as I can to their original year of 2019 with all these great pay-per-views, climbing ratings on TV, climbing viewership on streaming, climbing, seats sold at arenas and these places that they're going to that are very unique. They're setting all of these goals that they have attained. They are correcting a lot of their wrong that happened in 2023 and most of 2024, and it shows. And they are off to a great year. All In was the best show of the summer. SummerSlam was okay, but All In easily the best pro wrestling show of the summer. And I think WWE is finally saying, you know what, they are competition still. I don't think they'll flat out ever say it, but considering that they are now thinking about putting yet another show to compete with All Out on the same weekend when they knew for weeks now when All Out was going to take place, I find that kind of funny. I find it interesting. Clearly, we see that TKO and Triple H do see AEW as competition still. Next, into some WWE news real quick. We have the snippet from the Busted Open Radio that I'll have up on the screen in a moment here, and I'll read it along with you. Bully Ray believes WWE are starting to deliberately leak false information. He goes on to say, right now, I believe that the business, in order to protect itself, is going to have to enter a very espionage-esque way to do of things. The WWE has been working the dirt sheets for a long time now. I think they are starting to deliberately leak false information. And he goes on to talk more about it later on that, that podcast on Busted Open Radio. And I think it's true in a sense. I mean, look what happened with R-Truth. That may be a little bit more in the air where like they realized they're wrong, kind of like WrestleMania of last year when they last second changed the plans of the main event and had Cody win instead of it being they were going to have The Rock and Roman, I believe it was, and then it was Cody Roman. They kind of got backlash for that with R-Truth, but not so much with Seth Rollins, which is in that photo. You see Seth Rollins all this time was actually faking. The injury wasn't real. It was, part of the script, part of the storyline. He cashed in and won the World Heavyweight Championship against CM Punk at SummerSlam earlier this month. And now you're seeing reports kind of segueing into the next topic of Karrion Kross. Back at his speech that he had around Mania weekend that apparently left Triple H and higher-ups very frustrated, is what this report says. This led to multiple backstage altercations between Kross and the boss. Kross had even threatened to go bald again in a way to mock Triple H. And then you see, this additional report up here talking about his, he's got a YouTube channel where he released almost an hour and a half long video of just what his life has been like outside of the ring these last few months. And after Seth Rollins, after R-Truth, and stuff with like Cena, all of this stuff, I'm really starting to just hold my breath. And I think a lot of people are now recognizing this as like, okay, we'll believe it when we actually see him show up in New Japan or in AEW or any other promotion that's not WWE. I think they are more or less kind of trying to do what I think is one of the things that WWE excels in right now. I am going to give them some praise for a change, is using social media. I think that's one of their strong suits in 2025. Obviously, my thoughts on all their weaknesses. I do think that they are capitalizing on outwitting these, these dirt sheets that I even get a lot of information from to talk to you about. Are we going to see Karrion Kross actually go to another company? His wife, Scarlett, also posted on her social media that she was accepting bookings for events, indie promotions, things like that. It could all be just a long con to try and con the fans and have him return. Probably, if anything, if they want to get eyes on their product, if they're smart, if they are going to put a PLE headlining against All Out in September, have him come back there. There's reports that they might make the main event of said PLE John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, which would get eyes on the product and things like that. Like, if I was Triple H, if I was TKO, that's what I would do. I don't think that this is fully legit, despite seeing reports that he has been released and that he is taking bookings and such on social media. I'm not going to buy into it until I genuinely see him in another major promotion. Two more quick things. I actually have to hop back to AEW momentarily. I left out one thing that I wanted to mention really quick. After 6 years, Red Leather Belts announced their departure with their partnership with AEW. They designed beautiful belts for AEW. It's a damn shame that they are gone. I really don't know what happened behind the scenes, whether it's with Tony Khan or if it was something with Warner Brothers. Not quite sure. But that is kind of a big blow for AEW. I just hope that whoever does come in to take place for said championship belt designs, that it's somebody of the same quality as Red Leather Belts. So, I just wanted to say thank you to Ron over at Red Leather Belts for doing such a great job these last 6 years for AEW, and, hope for the best for whoever takes his place. Lastly, I just want to talk about an interesting note with WWE. I really do think that the honeymoon phase with Triple H is more or less over, and I've got proof in that. Right up here, we see that the rehires that Triple H rehired back in 2022 when he fully took over after Vince left, all of these guys are gone. You look at that list. You got Dakota Kai, allegedly Karrion and Scarlett. We'll see there. They released the Adonis is gone. Top Dollar, although we really don't care. I don't. Braun Strowman was kind of an interesting one, considering he brought him back and he was such a big part of Raw for a long time. Him leaving, which was pretty crazy. Eric Young left before he actually returned on TV, which was bizarre. Bray Wyatt, unfortunately, rest in peace to Bray Wyatt. On top of him being let go, Gallows and Anderson, who were in AEW for a little bit, came back to WWE. They're gone again. AOP is gone. Tegan Nox, Valhalla, and I think there's more actually than what's listed there. I feel like in 2025, WWE is really struggling with, I should rephrase it, I think Triple H and TKO are really struggling with creating genuinely new and interesting storylines. And I got this snippet up here from somebody complaining, saying that, like, hey, like, this Raw felt near identical to last week's Raw. Just, take different wrestlers and replace them with other wrestlers from last week, and it's literally cut and paste, cookie cutter Raw, which I have expressed that every fucking Raw is basically like that. Their matches are all around 10 minutes. They all just feel cookie cutter, cut and paste, very bland, generic, and repetitive. And so I'm glad to see that other people now pointing that out, and I'm not crazy, because it very much is like that. It's hard to get through an episode of Raw. It just is. And they're really struggling to create dynamic, new, and interesting, fun storylines. I mean, hell, they still have the Bloodline going on after how many years now? I think this is on year 4, maybe even year 5 now of the Bloodline. Like, and I get that it's evolved more or less a little bit, I guess, not a whole lot. But it's, at least to me, and I'm sure to many others out there listening to this right now, it's getting really boring. Do something else, Triple H, seriously. And I don't know if he's capable of it right now. I think they are truly struggling. I mean, look at where we're heading right now. You still got the Bloodline, which I really don't care about anymore. You got Brock Lesnar returning to try and sell tickets. Yeah, you had John Cena come back for his farewell tour, which is great and all, but like, when that ends, what's going to take its place, The whole Seth Rollins faction, as much as I love Seth Rollins and his cash-in was crazy at Money in the Bank, I'm just not feeling it. And there's so many other things that just aren't working for me in WWE right now. And I really think that's a point to make, an interesting point to note, and see where things go for the rest of 2025 with Triple H and WWE. That's all I had on this episode of Screw the Script. You let me know down below your thoughts on Wardlow, on Karrion Kross, the stuff that I said about Triple H. the direction of both WWE and AEW. Just let me know anything about that stuff down below, your thoughts. I love reading everybody's comments. I try and answer every single one. As always, thank you for watching. This has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Have a good rest of your day.